please.
All right, good morning. Welcome to day 2 of
Good
the
morning.
long Akim. Maybe, I hope some of you were able to do some homework. If you weren't, that's okay. We're going to switch gears a little bit and work on some compositions. And then tomorrow, what I'd like to do is combine some of the long text with the compositions. So today, when I'm talking about the compositions, I want you to keep in mind, and I will talk about that as we work on the compositions together, where you could possibly insert text tomorrow, longer text, okay? So we're going to be thinking about that as we develop our compositions, because again, according to the laws of composition in design and in art and Burgert's laws, applying those to calligraphy, composition is well thought out. We think about the placement on the page. We think about the elements within the composition, how they affect your theme, if you have a theme. So all of that, the elements, the graphic forms, the theme, the elements and the graphic forms are the same thing. And the placement on the page where it belongs. That's all part of a good design, okay? So we want to be aware that we're going to be inserting things tomorrow into these compositions, okay? All right, I'm going to switch over to my camera.
Excellent.
Okey-doke.
Focus is good. Oh, not. Yeah, that's
There
good.
we go. All right. So today we're going to be focusing on, let me turn my light on here. That helps a little.
Julie's on page 14.
Page 14, 15 through 19. Pages 14 through 19 is pretty much what we're going to be doing today. Again, we're using Burgert's laws of composition. I'll zoom in a little bit here so we can see that and focus that. The 3 things to keep in mind are: what is the overarching theme of the piece? How do the graphics or shapes support that theme? And the placement on the page and the rhythm that's created. And the rhythm is important with what we're doing, obviously, because we're mimicking things that Burgert is doing with a rhythmical calligraphy or lettering, okay? So if we were to look at these pieces here, let me get my little red pen. We can see, I'm just going to quickly go through them. Teeny tiny little X height on these, the bowls of the E's and the D's and the O's and the G, very tiny little X height, but these swooping arching forms, okay? He's got that rhythm going, that stretch, right? The stretch and the condensed of the Akim. But these very elongated ascenders and descenders, these kind of arching things. And then he does have a few where he's very straight and upright, but most often we see this kind of arching, this swooping like this kind of a shape here as he makes it. This kind of thing, again, mimics this, what happened here. These are mimicking, here's this shape again, kind of like this shape there, okay? So I don't know what the text says because I don't speak German. Maybe some of you that do could tell us does the text kind of mimic what's being done with the graphic forms? Perhaps somebody could share that with us. And we'll try to make, I always like to try to make the text mimic what I'm doing with the lettering. That's just kind of the thing. But sometimes we write things that don't really show what's in the text. I would rather that we do somehow make the text I'm not saying that you draw it. I'm not saying like, oh, let's draw little things that we see in the text. Not at all. But what I am saying is that maybe our letters should kind of mimic what is being said. And we'll talk about that. Again, I don't know what is being said here, but he is incorporating. Now, here's something that I don't know if you see this or not. This right here, I would tend to avoid that because that just created this river to me right there. Okay, who am I to say that Burgert didn't do that? I don't know, maybe he did do it on purpose. This right here is another river. Okay.
Right, and
So
Elizabeth is asking also if there's a river there of descenders.
yeah, and they're and well, of the verticals, you mean, of these?
Yeah, she says she referred to them as descenders.
Okay, but yeah, this definitely this condensed, well, it kind of gets broken up right here. So this is the kind of thing that I would tend to try to avoid, but I don't know what he was going at with the text. So there are people that have done things, and when I was in college in graphic design, people literally, when they would set type, this was in the days of type being set before computers, they would purposely put in a river, especially if it was the if the text happened to be about the ocean or about the river. That was like a cutesy thing that was done. Like we'll purposely put in a white river of space so that it looks like a river going through. Did he do this on purpose? I don't know. Um, I would tend to avoid that. But we do have this condense, and then it looks like he did this, well, not with just it's not just the vowels, but he did it with the things that really stretch. So like the E's, the C's, he's got the bowl of the G going. And this looks like it might be an O. Yeah, I guess that's the O. Okay. So this is the kind of thing I would try to avoid right there. That would be me in this right here. And then here, I love this little piece. I think this is really fun. Just kind of this tilting, kind of rolling, really fun. Not, you notice that there's not a lot of stretching going on in this piece. The letters are not very wide, and even, like look at the A. The A is about the same width as the stretch on the H and the N and the E, okay? And there's only a few letters where, like the R and obviously the I, excuse me, that are just very narrow, but not a lot of heartbeat rhythm in this piece, okay? Things are pretty uniform, but where he does get kind of playful is with these ascenders, and the descenders are doing some kind of fun things. You'll notice these descenders are kind of doing what we saw yesterday in this piece. They're kind of this kind of descender look to it. Some of them are a little curvier than what we see here. He's doing this. This one looks like, I don't know, kind of like he messed up a little bit. Kind of looks shaky. Again, this whole piece kind of looks like it's almost written from like a little kid or something. It's real kind of shaky, kind of playful, and bouncing the letters back and forth. And again, I don't know what the text is, so I really don't know what he's trying to achieve here. This right here is weird. Like it's like a collision of things happening there. I would try to avoid stuff like that. I don't mind things crossing over once in a while, like here. I tend to try to avoid this, and even like something like this. You can't always, and sometimes it's cool to do it if you want to create a texture or a pattern. But you want to, or you want those lines to crash over each other, like I showed you before, crashing over each other. But this right here is weird. I would try to avoid that. All right. So page 15, again, let's just kind of look at things. These I threw in here because he's just taking these caps. He's not really doing the lowercase of Akim here, just some caps and kind of the way it's tumbling down the page. I included this one because I really, really liked, now I did crop this way. I could not find the actual image itself. It was, I don't know, it was floating on the page of this book that I have, but it was floating on the page, and so I don't really know how it was cropped, but I wanted to crop it this way because I wanted to show you the dynamic things that happen when you crop or when you run things off the page. So here you're running this off the page, and this off the page, and this off the page. And you could even do the Z if it came down a little bit further there. But look at this interesting space that's created off to the left. Look at these little spaces here. You don't have to do anything with these spaces. White space could just be left alone, but it creates this really nice space right here. Love this space in here. I just think that's a beautiful space. I love this space that's created here as well. I should get like a little colored pencil and do that in a different color so you can see. This space is really interesting to me. Right there. I like that space. Okay. What makes it interesting to me? I can't really tell you. I think that's just a personal thing, but I just think it's interesting if from a white space perspective. I
I
love
just
what's
love
happening
how I love
over.
how space excites you.
Yeah, it does excite me. I don't know why. I like
No, I
maybe.
know. I love it.
Over here, I love this space up here too. I think that's fun. Okay. Now, I wouldn't do anything to that. I'm not going to color that in. I'm talking about leaving it white, but I just think it's interesting. However, in our compositions and tomorrow when we go and add text to our compositions, this is why I want you to be thinking about where you place things on the page. Could you, if this were a little bit wider margin, maybe we came out even further with this, with our left side, could you do little lines of text in here? Okay. Continue whatever your poem is, or even down in here, just tucking it in a little bit. Okay. And still leaving a nice white space on the left side of your page, but having just the rest of your text just kind of fit within here. And then maybe these words you pull out from your text as what you think is the most important words that you want to stress. All right. But what I like about this is first of all, you're going to set it up with these darker shapes that are very bold, very graphic. And then you're going to do tiny writing in here in your Akim. You could. Okay.
Those are very heavy lines for him.
Very heavy lines. It looks like these might have been either a wood cut or linoleum cut because we can see the scratches around them. Okay. Then again, this piece here, some of it, I think I might have had this in our last handout, the variations on Akim, but I put it in here because it does have a lot more text in it, and it's a bigger composition. But again, we have the theme of, well, of course, the tiny bowls, but the big arches, the swooping. Also, he's just playing with this kind of organic round shape a lot. You see it here, you see it here. You see it upside down kind of in here. You see it here. So he's creating that because he's got these rounded arches for some of his stretches. Taking that G, the tail of that G, and stretching and round. But again, real round, organic, and then doing the condensed that we see usually in Akim. Some of us, when we did the variations on Akim, we did some very short compositions in that class. And we kind of tried to mimic, I don't think we did this piece, but we kind of tried to mimic what he was doing. The one thing that I'm seeing that kind of bothers me as we get down to the bottom a little bit is right here, this repetitious, this right here, this diagonal line of repetitious shapes. But again, a lot of these, I think, as you saw, he's doing these, I would bet that he didn't plan this out super, like he just did a lot of these on the fly. And he may have gone back and tried to change things and whatever. I don't know. The man is not alive any longer, so I can't ask him, but, I'm just, curious if he just did this on the fly and that happened and it didn't bother him. So I don't know. So here, what I want you to do is contrast the shapes of this with this. So now we're looking, can Akim do something like this? Here's like an Akim G right here. Here's the E a little bit more upright. And then instead of stretching this way, he's stretching on a diagonal. So these are very sharp, very angular forms on this piece, as opposed to this one. But again, what is he trying to create? This dynamic, crunch. And again, legibility is not necessarily his strong. He doesn't want you to necessarily be able to read this. It's all about a feeling he's trying to evoke. Okay. So here you have these very bold, almost kind of just Roman cap type of letters. Some of them are stretched and, look at here. This is a backwards N, by the way. So doing something really bold like this, very graphic, to something softer and more organic and kind of round and tiny little bowls. And you've got the rhythm of the heartbeat a little bit going in here. And then here he gets very angular and very, this is very like creates, what's the word you want to, tension. It creates tension. Like this piece looks nice and happy and jolly to me, and this one looks like it sets me on edge. Okay. So think about that in relation to your text. Is your text kind of edgy? Are you trying to create some kind of tension or anger or frustration, or, and this piece seems like it's very jolly, not jolly and like haha jolly, but happy, quietly happy and joyful. All righty. So then we can look at a couple of my things here. I'm going to show you this piece a little bit larger so you can see. This is not the full size. This is still actually about, I don't even know, this is about a fourth of the original size.
Like I said, yeah, that piece was big.
Yeah, it's pretty tall. So here was something where I started with the text, and I didn't even add those thicks until later, but I just did some of the Akim stretching that I like to do. In my mind, I knew that I wanted to add something that mimicked music, and then the flames, obviously. The background was done first with a Sumi sink art kind of thing where I washed these big strokes, these big, huge brush strokes away. This whole quote is one that I've done several times. I love it. And it is, when it says the world is charged, there's a lot of energy to this quote for me. So I really loved Akim for this quote because of the lyrical kind of rhythmical quality of the letters. The music kind of, it made me think of music or movement. So that's why I use these letters. And so again, my stretching really worked on, trying to create a nice rhythm as I went down the page. I don't see any issues with rivers. I think I kind of corrected that. Well, I actually worked on this quite a few times. So, and then I started adding some of the darks in here. And I will just say that I showed Karen the piece. I showed Karen the piece as a semi-finished. And Karen, when we squinted and looked at it, this was the piece, right, Karen?
Yeah.
When we squinted and looked at it from afar, I had not put in as many black heavy strokes in the bottom part of it as I had done on the top. So I went back and filled in and did a few more of those. So Karen helped me really kind of see it that, that's a little too light on the heavy strokes down here. So I had to go back in and add those in. But the gold is meant to represent kind of the flames. So in this case, this is not a piece that I would ever, this was a finished piece. This is just a composition example. This is not one that I'm going to go in and add any kind of text to it in the smaller text. So today you may come out with compositions that you don't want to add long text to later or tiny text. That's fine. We're just working on the compositions, but we're working on longer compositions than what we did in my other class. Okay.
Julie, just so you know, since you're showing that the colors are not correct, I don't know if you have it nearby that you can grab it later, just to even show a corner of it to see the colors that you're talking about in the background, what you're talking about, that could be helpful. I don't know.
The colors? What do you mean the colors?
Like when
this
you said
one is
the
gold and black.
Right. So when you said gold, for example, what we're seeing on our computer screens, that's not gold. So I'm just saying that the colors are not.
The gold is it's a warm, very warm, almost brown gold. It was a
Yeah.
So if you're seeing kind of brownish gold, that is actually the color. But
Okay,
this is not the original, so you're not going to see it.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I didn't know if you had the original nearby to even show the quality of the line, but.
You know what? Actually, I probably do. But you want to see what now? What do you want to see?
The quality of the line and the colors put together. I mean, maybe tomorrow for the composition, I don't know, but.
You know what? Yeah, maybe I'll pull that out tomorrow because it's in my drawer and I put it in because that's the original art. So it's kind of in an envelope. So.
And it'll be amazing to see the difference between really what it looks like and what it looks like, 5x3 or 6x3 on our hand.
This color is a little truer to the original than the one that you're going to see in your handout.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That is that piece. And then again, for me, this was just some long text that I kind of did, very burger dish. And also you can see I didn't do a lot of really long stretches. I did start here with some longer stretches here. I could probably have a few more of those in here. Like I started with it and then I didn't, well, I put one in there, but I could see where this got a little bit jumbled. Like I would want to do some more stretches. Kind of like what I did in that first line there. But for the most part, I kind of like what's happening as a texture and a pattern. It's just that this started out with way more stretches, like wider stretches than what I achieved in the rest of the piece. So like I would do that again. This was actually a demo I just did. I mean, a very quick one I did for the handouts. So, analyzing it now, I think that maybe I would probably add some more stretches or redo this line to fit the rest of this piece. I mean, it's not that bad. It doesn't bother me that much, but I would probably fix it. And again, really just wanting to bounce and rotate these letters. I like the idea of it's about the stars painted their story in perfect silver calligraphy. I love that, and this is, I don't know, I was thinking of the stars as just kind of being, random up there and bouncy and covered our eyes with mercy. So this piece is us, even though it says just above our terror, the stars painted their story in perfect silver calligraphy, there's still a gentleness to this quote. And I kind of wanted it to portray that. So I chose a softer way of handling the lettering here. And then this was just a demo piece from one of my last workshops. I think I was actually looking at one of Bergert's exemplars or examples and tried to mimic his. But this is an example of a composition where you could, if I were to extend my border of this piece, I could think about interesting places to put some other text. So if I just brought my border out a little bit more, you wouldn't get that dynamic of this going off the page. Think about that too. Or maybe I have to do it. Where should I do it? Maybe this is my left border and I extend my right border. Now I could just have this stop right here, that S stop right there, and then add text in like here if I wanted, I could do that. Yeah, maybe that would be a good spot for some text, something like that. So even with these small, yes.
Before you take that away, no, go ahead. Even in this small,
even with the, this is a smaller composition, not too many words. That would be something that you might want to think about if you want to add some text to, or you can just do longer compositions completely by themselves. Just leave them alone and just do a longer composition.
So Julie, there's a question in the chat about when you're laying out text and you're doing bouncing lines, or bouncing lines of text, do you still use lined paper behind you to kind of give your eye an idea?
No, none of these were done that way. No, when I do something like this is done on the fly several times though, until I work out what I need to, until I work it out. So like I have about 4 or 5 of these. Well, I did have them, I threw them away. I don't keep a lot of my stuff because I just am I'm a purger. So if I don't like something, I'll work it out, and then toss the rest of them away.
She's a purger. She forgets that there's something called gift wrap.
Yeah, well, you want the gift wrap to look good though. All right, so I clean out my drawers all the time. That runs into a problem when maybe somebody like the Newberry Library wants to purchase your piece and then they want all the background material for it. And you go, oh, well, yeah, I got a few sketches.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's the way I work.
Yep.
All right, so that is looking at those. Now we're going to be thinking about what we just looked at, and we're going to look at some of these pieces I put in here for inspiration on shapes and the way they're laid out on the page. Now, starting with this one, this is this Kana Shoto, which is beautiful. I love this writing, Japanese women's handwriting. I found it online. actually that I've worn that jacket before. I don't know if any of you've seen it, but
Beautiful.
that was Kano Shoto. That's what somebody told me. I was wearing this jacket I have. I was wearing it to one of our CCC things, and one of the women there was from Japan, and she's like, "Oh, this is a Japanese alphabet, and in the Kano Shoto, which is the women's handwriting." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool!" So I really love these shapes, and I love what's happening. You could just pick one of these forms, and and do something with it. So, for example. Uh, me see here. You could use a pointed brush. I'm not very good with the Asian brush, like a Chinese or Japanese brush, but I could use my pointed brush and try to mimic one of these shapes and then use that for a composition. So I'm looking at, oh, I've got this really nice quote that I want to do as this little.
You know, Julie, if there's not a particular shape that's appealing to you, there's a shape that is leaping off the page at me.
Well, there is one, and I have a little thing that I just practiced. Oh, here it is. Okay.
Okay.
So I love, I have this quote about the ocean. And I was thinking it would be nice to do something like this, you know, something like that. I love that shape right there. I love this shape. It's kind of interesting. Ooh, this would be a really nice E, wouldn't it? If this was funky letters, I might do that as an E.
That is nice.
You know, here's an H, like right here. This looks very Akimish, like this H. Here's a little thingy like that. And then the H goes like this. You could do something like that. I wanted these just to be inspiration for stretches or movement. Look at this right here. If we turn it on its side, whoops. Let's do this, hold on. So look at this move right here. This is really fun. That could be a D. And let's see, we go up with this like this, down, and then stretch into something like that. Could go into an I. I like that move. You could do this with, you don't have to do it with a brush. You could do it with a ruling pen too. You know, this little move here could do something like this. And then what is that doing? It's going up, stretching like that into another letter. So I was kind of thinking this kind of flowy. You'll see that the left side right in here is a lot different. Things are happening. Well, actually here, here, and here, you've got these lighter strokes and a little bit more flowy. And then here you've got your heavier characters. Choose one or the other. I'm going to stick with some of these light strokes because I'd like to try a little composition. And my quote is about the sea. And I thought that those moves would be appropriate. So I've got this quote, and what I'm going to do is pull out what I want to stress large, okay? And I want that large composition just to be one on its own right now. And then tomorrow, I'm thinking I'm going to put smaller text in. So here's my quote. In its mysterious past the sea, blah, blah, blah. For all at last returns to the sea, to Oceanus. And I'm going to stop there. To me, the whole idea of, you know, that water always flows to the sea. Every drop of water is trying to find its way to the sea. And it's always going down, always flowing down, right? Science lesson here. Water doesn't flow up. It's always trying to make its way to the sea. So we could do something where we start, let me zoom out a little bit here. You know, I could start something where, you know, my composition does something like maybe like this. I'm thinking water droplets. Oh, you can't even see that pencil line.
Thank you.
I'm just drawing this dark for you right now. Something like where it does something like this and moves its way down like this to the page, to the bottom of the page. Something organic like this flowy kind of water droplet making its way down, down, down to the sea in its eventual journey. So I'm going to use, let's just use I'm going to use my favorite tool. I'm going to use some Sumi ink.
Julie, are you using a Winsor & Newton Series 7 brush? What are you using there?
Yes, Winsor & Newton Series 7.
Okay. Yeah.
Oops,
Okay. That's it. Yeah.
is all worn off, but it's Series 7. Sable.
Yeah. So what's in the chat is correct.
All right. I'm going to use a nicer sheet of paper for this. And I believe this might be Reeves BFK. I think it is. I can't find the watermark, but anyway. And I'm going to use a little bit slightly watered down Sumi. And the reason I use slightly watered down with this ruling pen is just because it helps, it flows a lot better. You can't tell, it's not like gray or anything. So I've got, let me put this up here. I already did kind of a little quick sample of this for you, but so I'm going to just be thinking about the shapes that I just made with that real organic. This is going to be my F. And the quote is, "For all at last returns to the sea." Again, I'm thinking of this very organic. I want my shapes to be kind of gently rolling shapes, okay? For all, and I'm not going to they're not always going to be slanted downward. That I don't want that look. You're going to see some will go up, some will go down, some will just be gently rolling because water flows over rocks, right? Comes up and goes down. It comes up and goes down, but eventually it's always making its way down. So you're going to see some lifting and going up for all.
Nice.
For all at last returns to the sea. For all. Let's see here. Okay. Again, I'm thinking of these spaces too, trying not to repeat things. You know, that repeats a little bit too much there. Maybe I need to curl that up a little bit. At last. Returns. Trying to keep my bowls pretty small, almost like little drops, you know, the droplets or the spray coming off the water. I mean, I'm not going to be cutesy about it or anything, but just thinking. Oops. Returns. Keeping my verticals curved on purpose. Returns to the sea. Returns. This tumbling kind of thing happening here. And then that S you know, the S could kind of come out a little ways and be kind of like the spray as the water tumbles down. Could do something like that. Also notice I'm going a little bit slower with my strokes. Not quite as exuberant as the piece you will see on, Karen, the page where it has Praise the Lord, the Psalm 117. Yeah, this one. This one was done quickly. What you can't see in here, and I don't have a larger version of this. Well, I have the original upstairs, but there's a lot of life to these strokes and there's a lot of splatter going on. So all these strokes were done a lot faster and they were done on text wove. So I was able to get a little bit more texture. This Reeves BFK is smoother, so I'm not getting a lot of splatter. But right now I don't necessarily want that. If you wanted to add it, you could go in and manually add your dots and splatters if you wanted. But I don't, not right now. I just like the quietness of this one. So to the sea, for all at last returns to the sea, to the sea. To the and then the sea. One of those words that's kind of, you know, a major part of this quote. So maybe I'll make that S a little bit more, you know, I want that S to kind of hit that, but I'm not going to worry about if it doesn't hit it. I'll just draw it down, but I'm going to bring that S out. Okay. To the sea. I'm not worried about this space here because we don't know yet if maybe that will have some text or not. So maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Doesn't bother me that there's that much there. To the sea. Also, this Reeves doesn't always, it does stop my pen. It slows it down. So sometimes those strokes break up a little bit. Okay, if it got an A that does this, kind of mimics that too much. So how do I want my A? Do I want it to come in here? Be an A like that? Maybe I'll do that. To the sea, to Oceanus. Now I'm going to leave this space open because I might want to insert some text later there. So I'm going to do Oceanus is going to be here. To Oceanus, I want to do that here. And then the last S.
Can I ask you a question before you do it?
Sure.
The line above returns. So you're ending a line there with an S. Can you walk through how you choose with that there, how you
Right.
proceed?
I don't want to go that same angle. So this one I think is going to be more upright, more of an upright thing like this. And I don't know if I think I want to do it from the bottom. Like that. Okay. All right, so this one might be where I can put some text in later. And I could also continue because this is, you know, it's continuing its journey on to the sea. I could start up here. Let me just zoom. Am I zoomed out? I am. I could start some text up here tomorrow if I want in this area. I could start text here. I could put some text here. I also could continue the text toward the end of this page if I wanted. All right. So there's an idea of a composition, but in this case, if this were a composition I just wanted to make on its own, a standalone, I would not be leaving this space probably that open. But knowing that I want to add something to it later, I purposely did that. Now, if I were doing this as its own composition, I would have maybe put the 2 here, TO there, and then Oceanus down here, okay? If I wanted it just to be standalone. All right, so that's one kind of composition based on some of those letter forms I found from that piece, the Kano Shodo. So
Julie, when you're talking about a composition right now and long text, are you looking for a sentence or two?
No, I've got some more of this quote. So tomorrow, what I would like to do, so what I pulled out was this. Let me just zoom in on that. So what I pulled out was this. Let me get rid of this so I can put it.
Yeah, thanks.
For all at last returns to the sea, to Oceanus. What I'd like to do is continue putting the rest of this quote in there. And then this last line, like the ocean river, like the ever-flowing stream of time, the beginning and the end. I'd like that to be somewhere kind of down at the bottom, maybe going off the page or headed toward the end of the page.
Thank you.
So I'm thinking about this quote right here and using part of it or these little parts of it tomorrow. All right.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So that's thinking about if I wanted to insert text. Let me show you a couple of samples. They are not Akim, but I want to show them to you anyway. Somebody asked, do you have any samples? Well, I don't have them in Akim, but I do have something like this. So, whoops, that was not there. I just put that on there. This was in, I think, Mike Gold's class. He was that idea that that Karen showed of that Mike Gold piece that she had. I pulled out, this is no eye has seen, no ear has heard, no mind has imagined what God has prepared for those who love him. So I took out the 3 main words that I thought were seen, heard, and imagined, and made a composition out of those. All right. Could kind of stand on its own if you wanted, seen, heard, and imagined. But this is where I wanted to add the text over to here. And then in this case, because the line space was very tight, it was creating interesting spaces, I decided to go in and fill that in with gold. Okay. So this could be a very, very, this could be one of your composition ideas where you just do, you know, kind of this, well, this is more of a triangle shape, seen, heard, imagined. You could just think of the Trinity. In my case, you know, I'm thinking of the Godhead, which is usually the Trinity in a triangle shape kind of thing. If you wanted that to be your theme behind it kind of thing. Also, there was a theme here of these really bold strokes and thin, bold and thin, twisting and turning. This is kind of like, I wanted this to be very dynamic, like it's just your mind is being blown about the things that you imagine. Okay. So very bold, very dynamic, and then kind of quiet over here on the left, purposely done that way. So think about that in terms of composition, where you're pulling out the words and you're stressing certain things. Here was another one that never got any text added to it. But again, you know, just doing something this, and then I would have to figure out where I wanted the text. But as you're thinking of your compositions with that you're going to add small text to, think about pulling out some of the words, making them very bold or dynamic or whatever it is you want to do. Kind of like the one I showed you of Burgert's with the text running down the edge of the page. And then here's one where I did actually add some text to it.
Can you zoom out on that, please?
This is as zoomed out as it's going to get. Let me go this way. All right, so this one is actually meant to be vertical. But again, I was just playing with all these different types of layouts. This was just me kind of testing things out, going very fast, There was no thought to this. I just wrote this out and then tried to figure out where I was going to put my text. Okay. So these were all done quite quickly, as Karen can attest to, because she probably saw me working.
She's so fast, it's crazy.
Yeah, this is how I brainstorm. I'm just getting the ideas out, and maybe they become a piece, maybe they don't. I don't know. All right. So think about the placement on the page. Think about what you're trying to say with the placement on the page. And then here's one that's a little bit more, this one is actually more kind of Akimish, sort of. Not really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
But here, go fill your space in a beautiful way. And then I just reiterated the quote. Well, this is a kind of a paraphrase of the quote of Georgia O'Keeffe. And then this is the actual quote: filling your space in a beautiful way. That is what art means to me. So here is one. And then here's the citation for the quote. Okay. So it could be very, filling your space in a beautiful way to me is just being very exuberant with my lettering and just playing with it, So think about those as far as, composition ideas. Feel free to take screen captures when I show stuff like this too. But these will be, I'll send these as, I'll be posting these on the Facebook page for things that I show.
Thank you for that.
All right.
And just remember, whatever doesn't work out, gift wrap.
All right, I have a couple more I want to show you real quick before we go on to the next thing. Now, here is something I did. This is a standalone. This is not anything that's going to get added text to. If you're thinking about a composition that just kind of fills up the page and does texture, this goes from edge to edge. I mean, all the way. You're seeing it horizontal, but it's meant to be read this way. All right. So now here is where I'm playing with Akim, and then I later went in and added these thicks and thins, kind of like what I did with that, the Merton quotes that I showed you earlier. Okay. So you could think about a composition where it's just going to create a big page of texture, and that's it. And you're going to add some, thicks and thins or design elements to it. So that could be one composition. Here's one where I started, and you won't be able to see the whole thing here. But, this was, what is this? I don't know where I had this quote from now, the bright morning star. All right. Oh, this was playing when we were doing a Brody class. Again, I was just playing with the idea of the rhythm. This doesn't necessarily, you can see there's a theme. Oh, you know what I was trying to do? I did this letter B, and I was trying to mimic this letter B throughout the piece. This is kind of sort of Akimish, with the stretches and stuff. But what I want you to see is this was never meant for anything else to happen to it, except that I liked the way I positioned it on the page. Okay. I would probably trim this bottom off a little bit more just to shorten up that space there. All right. So this is another idea for a composition that stands alone. Think about where you want it to be on the page. I'm going to put this one aside. All right, so let's go on. Where are we at time-wise? Okay, good.
We're perfect.
I want to go to the next exercise. All right, this piece right here.
Julie's on the bottom of page 18.
Page 18. I found some Georgian calligraphy. Very, very interesting. I really was having fun with the Georgian stuff. All right, this is going to be, this could be something where maybe you just use this for more of a textural, piece. We've got some interesting, what's happening here is we've got a very small X height and very rounded shapes there, okay? This reminds me a lot of, in a weird way, it reminds me of this piece of Burgert's. Because what Burgert is doing, he's curving things a little bit more, but and he doesn't have these diagonals. But where is it? Here, on page 14. You've got this tiny round X height. Everything's kind of round there. And then you've got these weird ascenders and descenders. Now, these ascenders and descenders are doing something very strange. They're going off in these diagonal directions. But again, remember I said I didn't like this, what happened here with Burgert. Where's my other? Here.
Julie, can you, okay, shift those up. Thank you.
So see how everything is crashing here, right there? Look what's happening here. So same thing. It's a weird thing that happens there. But again, once you start doing this kind of thing, it's not, the line spacing is actually quite, there's quite a lot of line spacing. If you just looked at the X height here, you'll see there's quite a lot of space in between each line, but it's because the ascenders and descenders are so long that they're crashing, into that space. So you've got this weird thing. Now, you don't have to necessarily do the diagonals. Let's just look at like this, for example, as a G, right here, this shape right here, or that as a D. Whoops, sorry. That is a D, that is a G. If you wanted, you could go diagonally with this. This is a Y kind of thing with this shape right here. It creates some interest to that. So are there any moves that we can try in an abstract composition? Now, again, this is a Georgian, and it's a very well, it is a very, what's the word, graphic kind of version of it. I'm sure they don't write like this.
No, actually, Heather put in the chat the source. I'm just thanking her now.
It's from Sisori. I found it on a Facebook group that had a lot of, that was not in English, and I couldn't get it translated. This was the only thing that was translated on that Facebook group.
Right, and Heather put a little bit more. Heather put a tiny bit more information in the chat. Yeah.
Good. Because I was trying to cite that example, and because it wasn't in English and I couldn't get the translator to translate that page. That's the only thing I found. But what are some of the things that we can extract from this? So let's see here. If I wanted to do a D, I could do my D like that. If I want to do my G, I could, well, this one does this. I wonder if I would do it like that. Would that work?
Can you please zoom out so we can see the source and what you're writing?
Sure.
Thank you.
Just a second.
Of course.
That could be my G.
Thank you.
Well, it's very small, so it's hard to see this.
Yeah, it's true.
Let me go in just a bit more there. There we go.
Oh, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah. So there's a D, there's an O, there's a G. That could be my G, or I can close it off if I want, or almost close it off if you want. Here's an interesting way to do the S. Okay. M's actually they cross over each other, it looks like. Very slightly crossing over each other like this.
Right, and also those N and M curves, the bottoms of those verticals actually point inward a tiny bit. Look at that second to last line.
Yeah, well, here, inward here, like this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that S. I like that S a lot. Could do that. It's kind of fun. This could be an N like that. And I'm looking at this one here. Could be, well, there's a letter right here that does this. But we could take that and do something like that, where it becomes our K.
Totally.
Okay. Yeah. So what letters do I have here? So what was that quote I just told you I would? Oh, in the places I go, there are things that I see.
Right.
And I never could spell if I stopped with the Z. This could be like a Dr. Seuss quote. Now this, you know, actually I should probably do a shorter quote just to do that one. That one's a little too long.
Or just the first half of it. In the places I go, there are things that I see.
Yeah, I can do that. So in the places I go, how would I do a composition based on this? And this is one of those things that, you know, do I want to apply it to a more organic composition or to one that's more, no, I want to do organic. That's what I'm going to do. Just kind of in the places I go, there are things that I see. And then the I is a cap. Do we want to start that as a cap? So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that for an I. This right there. This is kind of goofy. And then my N. And my T. I'm just going to have to make it up. I'm going to keep it burgerish. And my H might do this. And my E will have a rounder bowl. Maybe like that. And then how do I want to do? Kind of get that diagonal thing in there. In the places I go. P. What's the P? Did I do a P yet? No, I didn't. Let's turn this upside down and see what it looks like. Ooh, okay. I'll do that. Now, there's one that looks like a P, but it's got this hook on it, which I kind of don't like. I think that would just look like a backwards Q. I mean, but I could just do a little bit of a curve there, just like that. In the places I go, where's the L? Where's an L? I could take that kind of feature there. I've got this upside down now. Ooh, yeah, good. Did somebody say something?
No, you did.
Oh, okay. This is kind of goofy looking. I don't know. Let's see, an A. What do we want that A to look like? Oh, maybe this. And we'll do this down here. I don't know if I want that L there. I don't know. And then the C could be one of these. Yeah, that doesn't look like an L to me. In the places I go, and another E, let's do it like this. This is very funky. And then the S, I'm going to do an S like this. In the places I go, let's do an I in here. The G, what did I do for the G? Oh, yes. I like that G. I'm going to do the G like this. And then I'm going to come down like this. What do I do at the bottom? You know what? I'm not going to do this thing at the bottom of the G because it's repeating it. I'm just going to go like that. In the places I go. So far, I like it except for what I did on that L. I don't like that. Oops, got a little too thick on my ink.
There are
The
things that
places-
I see.
There are things that I see. The places I go. So I've got this, what is happening right now, this kind of diagonal coming down my page here. Do I want to, there are things that I see, go this way. There are things that I see. Because the quote is, in the places I go, there are things that I see that I never could spell if I stopped with the Z. In the places I go, there are things that I see.
Julie, while you're considering possibly from that G going horizontal, so if you do that, what do you do about that strong diagonal created by all those verticals?
This right here.
Yeah, all those verticals in a row.
Well, that's why I'm thinking I might start here.
Yeah. Okay.
There
Thank
are
you.
things. There are things in the places I go. There are things that I see. There are things that I see. There are. See, now I would be bouncing this way to go into the rest of my text. There are. Yeah, I could do that. I could start there are over here. Let's try that. And then my E. Okay. There are. There are things that I see. Let's do this. H, the H again. Do I want to bring in that shape again? Maybe I will bring that shape in. Look at something upside down here. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do this. And then do this. And the I can do that. So I'm starting to just kind of bounce. There are things that I see. The N. All right, so the N did that round thing before. I might change up and put a stem on my N now, just to get away from these two shapes, or maybe not making it quite as wide, because the N is supposed to be round, but I don't want this necessarily to be the exact same. Maybe make it a little bit smaller. Yeah, let's do that. Things, and then the G we can do here. There are things. I'm getting this bounce, so I'm going to come kind of back up with my S. Right. What? What's that?
I know I'm reading on my phone the text. There are things that I see.
In the places I go, there are things that I see. That I I see. Also, I don't know why I started in the middle of my page. I should have started at the top. I'm going off the page here, so I'm going to have to start on another page. Now, that's what I have to think about. Now, how do I finish this out? Do I just make this kind of, big kind of triangular shape? And then finish my line down here?
Well, that I see is a short line.
There are things that I see. Right. So I started too low on my page to finish this out. So there are things that I see. All right. So I'm just going to stop with that I see. Okay. Because this should be on a bigger sheet of paper. Oh, I'm going to bring this out just a bit here. That's better. Perhaps that would come down lower too. Yeah. There are things that I see. Oh, you know what? Maybe I'll just do this all in one line down here. There are things. And then maybe doing an H like this again. And then maybe a, do we have any of the, yeah, we do have these diagonals with our E's. I could do, this kind of an A.
Right, very Akim.
Just to kind of get that flavor in there. I did it here and here. That I see. I'm going to go this way with my crossbar. And then the I. I don't know if I want to do that again. You know what? I'm just going to do a lowercase I. It's Dr. Zeus. I can do that if I want to. That I see. I'm going to go up into this space, I think, with that S. We'll do something like that. And then that E, I'm going to do a different kind of an E. Let's see, because I don't want that to look the same there.
Right, you have two E's right above.
Right. We'll do something like that. And could I do a cap E in here? Maybe I could. I could do a cap E, although that's too angular. I want to keep with these rounder shapes too. I do have these angles, but can I do an E like that goes down? I don't know if I want to do a cap E.
I just turned my.
Any thoughts? Any thoughts from anyone?
Yeah, Julie, turn it upside down again.
Upside down?
Then, yeah. And then what becomes now the third line, which is the second line of text, counting the attribution as a line. Look at the last word. That S upside down is an E. Are
you talking about what? Where? Here?
No, I'm turning upside down the Georgian source you're looking at.
Oh, turn it upside down.
There you go. Now the third line, counting the attribution. Yeah, the third line. Okay, the first letter of the last word, that S upside down is like an E.
First letter
of the last word. Keep going. Last word.
All the way here?
Yeah.
Oh, the two round circles. Like
no,
this.
No. Okay. Yeah. Go back to that last word.
Yeah.
Look at
right here.
No. The first letter. There you go. The first letter of it. The little S upside down.
Is an E?
Look at it. Yeah. Now look at the first letter of the last word. This is so hard not to be able to.
Yeah, right
point.
here.
Yeah.
You see that as an E?
Totally.
With the bowl closed.
Yeah. Just close a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You see what I'm talking about? There's a couple of them.
Yeah, but then that kind of mimics this shape right here too much. It's too close to this shape, I think. Well, because really what you're saying is this. You're saying this. You're saying this is the, like this.
Diagonal. Kind of, yeah.
But that's what it's doing. That's what that one's doing.
Yeah,
right?
kind of, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a little too close to that shape I just
I mean,
made.
look at your S in places and in things.
Yeah. Right. I see that. I don't know if I like
Okay,
that.
that's
It's a
it.
little, I think it's too close to this round shape. But I could just bring it down like
Because
this,
it's a diagonal shape.
like just like that kind of.
Sure.
Not too cool. It's not very much like that one, but there are things
Especially
that
if you
I
put
see.
that little foot on the bottom of it that tucks it back, that diagonal line.
That tucks it back like this.
Oh, I was going to go the other way. That tucks it
Oh,
back, like
okay.
that S.
There are things that I see. And then what was the rest of my quote?
That I never could spell if I stopped with the Z.
I don't know if I'll fit it here. I'm going to touch that one. And then my A could do that and what? We'll do that. Let's do a curved T.
I never could spell.
Here's an E again.
Two of them in a row, never.
Oh. A V. We'll just do a V, standard V.
Or look at the bottom of your capital I's.
Oh yeah, you mean this kind of a shape here?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you.
Mhm.
And curve up into there. And do this here.
Could
And I
spell.
never, what?
Could spell.
I don't know if I like that. I will. I don't think I want to do anything to the top. Oh, you know what? Maybe let's go this way. Yeah, let's do that. And the D will do like this.
Spell.
Spell. Yeah. I started too low on the page. I'm not going to be able to fit that in there. This is kind of funny, kind of a funny composition.
Right, I'm squinting at it on my screen.
Yeah. All right, spell. Let's just pretend this paper is as big as it is. And let me just tape it real quick here. Because we can finish it. We can finish it. I don't know why I didn't start at the top. Probably I didn't start at the top because I didn't want it to be off the screen. That's why. The limitations of the Zoom class.
You want to tape underneath?
It almost looks like a too long of an A. Maybe I shouldn't have curved that right there.
It does, by the way, look like an A. But Julie, you want to tape it on the back so that the pen doesn't catch on it as you keep writing and then smear ink and.
Oh, that's true. Okay. Let's just do that. Right. And then we have to think about that last that I never could spell.
If I stopped with the Z.
Yeah, I want to, well, maybe I don't want to put spell there. Spell if I stopped with the Z. Maybe we'll do that down here.
Or spell large as one line,
Spell.
you know, like just the one word there and then starting a new line.
Spell.
That's a fun S.
This is a weird composition.
Oh, no. Actually, it's good.
If I stopped with the Z.
Yeah. If I stopped with the Z.
If I stopped with the Z. If. Ooh, we haven't done an F yet, have we? What do we want to do for the F? If I, and then we're going to do one of, oh, Julie.
Oh, just leave it.
Yeah, I will. If I stopped with the Z.
Okay, so I'm laughing and I'm going to share with your students, Julie, that it wouldn't be a full demo if there wasn't
Or a
blog.
workshop. We used to say it wouldn't be a workshop if Julie didn't spill her ink.
Right, that is so correct.
That happens all the time.
But you'll see then Julie's going to do something very creative with that dot. It'll
Oh,
be
sure, right. Yeah, okay.
By the way, oh my gosh, by the way, my dear,
What?
imagine if you did the attribution really, really tiny, Dr. Seuss spelling out doctor, and that was one of your O's, just as a monoline, just little bitty doctor.
But there's no O in Dr. Seuss.
I just said writing it out, not DR.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that would be weird though. You never see it spelled out.
I know, but hey, there's a
But
blog.
we could. If I stopped with the Z.
Correct. I'm so pleased that you spilled. Oh, it feels so normal.
If anybody ever wants to feel good about themselves, take a workshop with Julie Wildman. Because I'll make all the mistakes.
No, that was great that happened. I'm pleased.
If I stopped with the Z. Let's do this.
That could also dot your I on with.
Oh.
Just saying.
And then maybe go back and add that dot somewhere else too.
Yeah, totally. Just trying to help you out here.
Except I was going to do a nice wide W. Not too wide, but I was going to do one of these.
Yeah.
You know.
Go for it.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a little too far off the I.
Right. It'll look like a smiley face on that dot, you know? Yeah.
Oh, well. It's just going to be there. I didn't quite center this.
I hope everyone forgives me for laughing, but that was great. Kate, could you zoom out one notch, please?
I don't think I can go any further. No, I just
okay.
have to move it.
Just shoot off your page. Thank you.
With.
Thank you.
You know what? Yeah, and I'm not going to do a real wide one there. Okay. And
would you have ever considered, because all of a sudden there's going to be this Z there, waiting with that E to decide what you do with the Z and then come back to the E and the?
no,
Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna do a Burger Z. I like Burger Z. Where is it? Let's see. It looks like a 2, I think. Let me just check it out there. Yeah. Here's the Burger Z right there.
Yeah. The lowercase and the uppercase, yeah. Bravo.
All right. That's kind of goofy, but you know, it was fun to try it out. And we learned some things from that hand, applied some of them. Could go back and add more if I wanted to. Take out some of the things, like I didn't like that L right there. You know, but it's fun. Learn something new. All right.
Yeah.
So now this would be a standalone. I wouldn't add anything to this, but I mean, you could. I mean, you could go up. You could do all kinds of things on this, I guess. But
When
this might be a.
When
this
you
might-
say I wouldn't add, you mean text. When you say you wouldn't add, you mean
Yeah,
text.
I'm not going to add any small text to this piece, I don't think.
Right.
What I would do is go in and add color maybe, or some interesting fun shapes or something maybe around it. Because it's very Dr. Seuss and very playful and goofy and stuff. So,
Yeah, Julie, there's an excellent question in the chat. So you keep saying that you don't like that L in places. What would you do in its stead?
Oh, you know what? I might just change it up and do something like maybe do that kind of an L right there. That maybe, I don't know. Or maybe just have left it alone or done this maybe. Something like that. Yeah.
And Heather has a question on your Z, that it looks like a 2. Would you consider adding the European crossbar on the Z?
I could, but that's what Burger Z did. So I kind of did it a la Burger, but yeah, you could do that.
A little one like the T. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, could do it that way too. Not cross over both sides.
Right.
Could do that. Yep. All right.
Thank you. We are caught up in the chat with questions.
Okay. So that was that exercise. Okay, good. We're going good with time.
Yes, you're doing well.
So I want to get to the ones on page 19. They're so much fun.
Oh, that one on the bottom.
Yeah, actually, I want to spend time with that one on the bottom. This one, what I want you to see kind of is, let me show that sample I showed you earlier.
The one with always?
That could be achieved with a broad edge tool, or the wide part of the Brody tool. You can do, you know, this is clearly done with well, some of this is done with the an Arabic tool that's very similar to like our Coit pen or an automatic pen, you know, like this kind of a tool. Oops, there we go.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can get your wides and doing your thicks and thins. This is clearly a drawn shape right there. You know, those little curvy things there are drawn. And for a smaller, tighter composition that mimics the modern Arabic piece. So let's look back at what I just showed you. Now, these aren't, you know, these shapes aren't based on the Arabic at all, but it's this idea of a bold, tight composition on a page that perhaps you can come back in later and add text to, or it stands alone, okay? So just making some bold marks, kind of mimicking some of the things that you see. Let me just show you real quickly something I did.
The always?
Yeah. So we, and Brody had us looking at some Arabic. We had to actually write the Arabic and we had to copy it first. So it was very rough, and you can see I'm writing from right to left. So that was very hard for a right-hander to do. And then I went to this shape and wrote this. And then when I was writing this, I saw the word always in it. So I just wrote this. I went from this to this. And then I created a piece like this. Okay. So this was where we did some stretching a la the Arabic. I was thinking of things that I like to do with Burger, stretching my L, stretching that R, this lowercase or uppercase R, but stretching the leg. Now, this is not what I'm talking about here as far as the shapes, these goofy shapes and everything. But what I want you to see is how you can interpret from the Arabic, from this little thing here, your thicks and your thins, creating a composition in itself. Okay. So thinking about the thicks and thins, weird shapes, if you want to do some stretches, whatever. That's what I mean by creating. This is a composition that will stand alone. Like I won't do anything else to this piece. Okay. So you can create a standalone composition here like this. Here we have an up, also it has a shape to it. It has kind of this kind of thing going. All right. You can create a composition that is within a space, or within a shape that you create. You can do something tight with these dark and thin forms, these heavy and light forms. So you can see there's contrast between the bold and the light, and small and large. You have very large forms and you have little tiny ones that are in there. Okay. So that's one idea. I'm not going to have time to do every one of these. I really want to get to this one. So I'm going to go to that one. And if we have time, we'll come back. But if not, this is why I showed you this, because here I have this very tight composition, kind of like what you see there in the Arabic. And then you can have room for text later if you want, or it could be a standalone. Okay. So maybe play with that Arabic one. But I want to really move on to the next one because that one intrigues me. This almost looks very Moreau-like, Picasso or Moreau, some weird movement in here. And actually, this was an old script. I can't remember what the year was because, I was reading it on a Georgian site and it didn't have a full translation. But I found it on this 123rf.com. I copy a favorite portion of this monoline piece and create a composition from that. Okay. So you can choose a monoline, you can choose thicks and thins if you want. I'm going to choose my monoline pen that I really like to use, in my monoline Coit pen. And I've got ink all over my colored pencils because they were dry.
Really?
Yeah, really.
For everyone who is seeing for
all
the
over
first
my hands,
time.
all over my hands. It's everywhere. You can
Right,
also use, you can use a speedball bee nib if you wanted with this too. That might be kind of fun. I like this one that I like to use is a Coit, a monoline Coit. This is a vintage one that somebody gave me. So all I know is it said Coit pen system, and it was an Arthur Baker designer series pen.
Yeah, I'm putting it in the chat. We've looked for those, and I can't find them.
Yeah, but you can find other ones that are not the Arthur Baker ones, because I
Right.
had another one that just had a pearl handle on it. It was like a pearl white handle, and it broke. It split here, and we tried fixing it. Some lady that was in my class knew a jeweler, and he soldered it back together, and then it broke again. It didn't work.
Yeah,
okay.
and those off-white plastic ones that we found that are still out on the market, we never found one that was that thin, that narrow.
So, I'm looking at some of the shapes here. Let me just fold this over. Just want to be inspired by these shapes. All right. So one of the ones I really like, I like this little thing that goes up like this, goes up into there.
I'm going to need you to move or zoom out some.
Yeah, which way is it going? This way, I think. going this way, going like this. And then it goes up.
We don't see your page at all, by the way. Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, that's much better. Thank you.
And then it does this. I like that shape. These little they look like little berries, like holly berries at Christmas or something. We could turn it upside down, see if we like the shapes any better. Oh, look at that as a Y. That's kind of fun. There's a Y. Here are some of the humps of the, like a W. This could be the backwards, that could be the G, like the Akim G, but do it this way.
If you could raise your page, please. Thank you.
So this is, I flipped this shape backwards. I would do that for the G. Oh, look at that A. That's a capital A upside down. Could do something like, well, if you wanted it to be the A, you'd stop there, but it goes way up like this. And then it comes down into this shape like this. It does that. That's kind of goofy.
Wow, that could have been that could be a DE, DEO.
It also could be an A and then into an E.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, not that we have that word, but here's a D, clearly a D going down. That's a weird, like this.
And now I'm also looking at the page 90 degrees rotated as opposed to 180.
Yeah, this one does this into an S. You know, you can turn it this way as well.
Yeah.
See some of the stretches that you can get, you know, if you were to do like an E like this.
Could you raise your paper, please?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm running out of room. So you could do E into like a next letter or something like a, I don't know, because this is doing this. That could be a double E. Okay, so the idea is, well, so let's kind of analyze it because we didn't do that yet. We have no baseline. We have no, technically we have no X height here, right? We don't really know what this says. And so if we want to take some of the features, we have some really round things happening here. We have very elongated kind of doubling up, like if these were loops on the letter, you know, we could add a loop to say this was a P. You do a P like this kind of thing and add a loop to it. Here's a lowercase a right there. Oh, as I mentioned, there was a G, but there's also a G here, kind of like this kind of a G.
Yeah.
See that? You know, here's your C looping up like this. And here's one E doing this kind of thing. And then, of course, we can do E's like this. Or an E like this. Okay. It's these interesting elongated things that are kind of wonky and crazy.
I just also turned it backwards to the light. There's so much.
Yeah, so if you, look through it like this,
Yeah.
see it differently, you'll see things differently as well. Yeah, see, I'm backlit so you can see. I mean, look at this as a B right here. Ooh, capital B. Here's that Y. Here's a Y going all the way down like this. So what our rules that we can take away from are these very rounded shapes, kind of organically rounded, kind of wonky. We've got long ascenders and descenders, right? We've got loops. We could add some loops if we wanted. We could treat this as a loop, these as a loop, or this is a loop, this is a loop. Oops, sorry. Okay. So yeah, so we have loops. We have crossing over. So what I would do is do a very short phrase on this one. Let's see here. It's gonna be hard. I didn't practice this beforehand.
Julie, you don't
What?
practice any of this beforehand.
Well, you're right. I did do one layout this morning. Calligraphy is frozen poetry would be nice because I've got some ascenders and descenders. So let's do that. What time is it? We're good? Yeah,
Yeah.
we're good. I'll have
Yeah,
to go
we-
fast on this one. I'm gonna go fast. All right, I'm gonna use my, maybe I'll use my, maybe it would be better to use the, I'm gonna use a B nib, I think. Wait, I don't have enough walnut. Okay, scratch that. I'll go back to my, all right, I'm gonna go back to this nib. Equate. All right, calligraphy is frozen poetry. This is gonna look very goofy, so just warning you. All right, calligraphy. I'm gonna move up my page in case I run out of room. And then my L. And then maybe I do a loopy L. Let's see here. Ooh, I see one. Okay. And gotta get those dots in there.
Nice.
Right? And then the G, well, this is going to be fun. How should we do the G? Do I want to do it closed? Yeah, I think I might. Let's see. I saw that G. Where was that G that I saw? Oh, here. Here. Let's do that. And maybe I'll put a little tabby thing on there.
Yeah.
And the R. Oh, I see a cursive R in there, but that's not really Akim. I won't do the cursive R.
Well, and Julie and Heather points out in the chat that these lines are all very interconnected.
Yes, they are. What I think what I'm going to do is do that with my next line of text, maybe going over some of these, crisscrossing. So maybe this will come down a little bit further. And then how do I want to do my next A?
Are you going to mix caps and smalls or no?
Well, I could mix caps because I did have a nice A there, but that A goes way up. Remember that A did all that way up.
Right, there's a really nice small cap A. If you rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise.
Yeah, this way.
Yes, and now look at the very top line. They're right there in the middle, smack dab in the middle. There's
This
that little
one?
cap. Yep, yep, yep. That one right there, that little thing that points up with 2 feet.
Kind of does that, right?
Exactly.
And then the P might want to do something like, oh, could we connect that? We could
Nice.
connect these.
And now if you can
No.
shift your paper up, please.
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt you mid-stroke.
Calligraphy. Did we do an H? No. Let's see here. I think I might do just an H like this. Now I could make that a loop, but I already have a loop here and here. So maybe I'll just leave this one just like that. And then we'll do a rounded hump. And then the Y, I'm just going to do like what I found before. I'm going to make that a little bit wider of a bowl. Well, no, not too wide, because then I have that right next to there. So do it in, come in a little bit more like that, and then curve like this.
If you can zoom out one notch,
Yep.
please.
All
Thank
right.
you.
So calligraphy is frozen poetry. Now, trying to get some of that overlapping, like, was it Heather that suggested that?
Yes.
You can try that. So is, maybe the is comes up into here and then frozen kind of tumbles into here. Oh, frozen. Maybe I leave the is alone and we try to get frozen up into here somewhere. Let's see. Let's do an F up in here. And I'm going to get like a nice big swoopy one. Curvy one like this. Don't know how I want to cross that yet. So hold on a minute. Let's do an R like this. Oh, there we go. I'm going to do that O up in there. And maybe that G just comes over to here. And then the Z, we could do a Burgert Z like this. I got to be careful about right now about the crossing over. Let's see. Yeah, I don't want to do that there. Frozen. Should we do a Burgert Z like this? I see that swooping up. It'd be nice to get, we want to get Z-E-N in this space, I'm thinking. Let's see. Where's a good Z? Up. Maybe just sticking with that right now. And then the E. And my N. I feel like the N, I don't know if I just want to make it a round or if I want to make it a narrow. I feel like now these two are wide. I feel like this needs a more narrow shape right now.
And can we ask a question? You have those two verticals coming up and you have after the N the word poetry. And you have those verticals of the P and the Y.
What's that question?
The question about the shape of your N and where you were thinking of poetry lower, poetry across, how you're thinking.
I haven't gotten there yet. I'm thinking of the N right now. Haven't gotten to poetry yet. Let's see, the N. Do I want to do a cap N? No, I don't. I just want to keep it simple, I think. And kind of round. Okay. Keeping it simple. And then poetry is going to be somewhere over here. And poetry, I might just do as a long P right here. I'm going to end with a Y. So I don't want to mimic that same Y shape there. Is going to be here. Let's just do the is right now, just to get that finished. Excuse me. Okay, so now I don't want to do the same thing on that P that I did there. But I do want a long P, so I'm going to come over to here, I think. I'm going to do this. And do I want to loop there? It'll look different than that one if I do a loop. I think I do. I'm going to do that. And then E. I'm not going to do that same E. Now, I did purposely do this, because we have those three little dots that were all together right there. There. You see them kind of clumped right there. So I thought, well, maybe I will repeat them right there. Now, T, the poetry, and we could touch, we could spread out. I think I'll just spread out a bit. And then I'm not so bothered by that space being just alone. I don't really need to come up into it with anything, I don't think. I think I'm okay with it. So now I just need to finish off the Y. And how do I want to do that? I think with a nice swooping curl. That'd be nice.
Can you do, oh, there you go, thank you.
So maybe I've already done wide there. I've done wide here. Maybe I keep it kind of narrow. Just like that kind of a shape. And then kind of do something like that.
Woo.
And you can even end it with one of those little things there. So again, we could get even further with this where we do some crossing over. As Heather suggested, that maybe your letters all connect, that there's a lot more connecting going on, like kind of like doing Mike Gold does. Well, actually, Mike Gold does an exercise that I think it was Moreau that did to take your line for a walk.
Paul
Where
Clay.
Paul Clay, sorry. But Mike Gold does this too, where you just keep moving with the, you don't lift your pen off the page and you just keep moving through. You could totally do that with this, where your letters all cross over each other, or they all connect. I like leaving them a little bit. Pardon?
Can you zoom out one more notch, please?
I think I am as zoomed as I'm going to get.
Okay, sorry. Keep going.
So yeah, it's here. Let me just turn it this way so you can see that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see what that whole thing looks like. You know, and if I wanted to go in and really be very playful with this, I could just kind of go in and add some of these, like the little dots, you know, like in this area, we could do that just as a little design element. You know, I could add another dot down here at the end of that Y if I wanted to, like I did with this one. Okay. So I would not, if I were going to add text to this, I would not add it there though. I just wouldn't. I don't know why. I just wouldn't. I would tend to want to put maybe those little design elements, like those little dots in there somewhere. This would be an excellent one to add color to, you know, kind of fun.
Totally.
So, okay.
Okay, so we are at just under 10 minutes.
All right. Does anyone have any questions?
We are caught up in the chat. And by the way, Margaret, who found the set of the Arthur Baker Coit pens, she put it in the chat, so I chatted her privately. She found them in Holland.
Oh, okay.
So I got excited. I'm imagining other people are getting excited. And then she said, yeah, right here in Holland.
Well, we can get them from Holland, though. It doesn't take long.
Right.
I ordered my handwritten pen from Italy, and it didn't take long to get here.
Yeah, but you know.
I ordered a second one, by the way, because of my first one, I lost my screw. And they said they were sending me one, but I think it's lost in the mail.
Oh, Wild Woman, a quick, someone put in the chat, thank you, Marge. I know that the author is unknown, but the author is unknown. Where would you put that if you wanted to? Here, maybe?
Now, here's one of the things for doing citations. What I like to do is I get a piece of, well, you can use tracing paper, but I like to get a piece of just clear acetate and I write on the acetate and then I move it around. Or I scan it into the computer and then move it around that way.
But now it's wet, so.
Pardon?
Now it's wet.
Yeah, right. So I'm not going to do it now, but you know, I could play with the citation down here somewhere. I could maybe do it over here. Not in that space. Leave that space alone. It could be down here even, maybe.
Thank you.
Now, those are all horizontal citations. Sometimes you could do a vertical, but I don't know if I would do a vertical on this piece. Yeah, I wouldn't do a vertical on that. All right. Any other questions? I wasn't going to give a homework assignment since there's only, you know, you're going to be with me tomorrow.
But what to think about then?
What to think about is your text and already, you know, what kind of things would you like to do to compositions that you created today? If you did not create a composition, you just watched me, that's fine, because I'm going to be adding things in the piece that I did. And again, and then just showing you some quick ideas of thumbnail sketches that you can do just to give yourself an idea. Let me show you something real quick that I worked on yesterday. I was just thinking of ideas on how to put things on a page. And I was watching the inauguration and I was just doodling. So I literally just made up this really fast, you know, no big deal. This is a thumbnail sketch. I was thinking of, you know, shapes and a la burger. And then I started playing around, well, You know, I could do something like this where I just cut it off right here and then just put my text there. That's a thumbnail sketch. And then I thought, oh, if it was square, I could run text this way and this way. But then I had this huge space here, which I probably wouldn't leave open like that. But you could add more, you know, this kind of thing to it and tumble down into this area if you wanted to, you know, kind of thing. Kind of like the ocean quote that I did, that could tumble into this space. So literally doing little thumbnail sketches that don't say anything. We could spend some time like this tomorrow doing, you know, just this idea of, well, where can I put the elements on the page? In graphic design, when you do any kind of anything that you would do, whether you designed an ad or a book cover or whatever, we would do thumbnail sketches, and you take your 3 basic elements. And usually your 3 basic elements is some sort of a graphic. You know, I always say like maybe it's a flower shape or something. Okay. Here's your flower. And maybe there's a headline for your ad or whatever it is. And then there's some text to go with it. And how many different ways can you position those 3 elements on a page? Well, it's a lot actually. Also playing with scale and taking things off the edge of the page. You know, I could do something like this with that flower and do this. And then my headline could run down the side of the page like this. And then maybe my body text goes over here and follows the line of that flower. Okay. These are more dynamic compositions because they're not centered. You know, if I wanted it to be very formal and normal.
Can you zoom out a little bit, please? 1 notch. Thank you.
This would be a very, what I would call boring composition. Here's my headline. Here is my flower. And here's my text. That's to me not very dynamic at all. It's kind of boring. So those are some of the things that I play with when we do my layout. And I have a class that I do that's like a long class, a 2-day full workshop. But we do layout and design for calligraphers. We talk about things like thumbnail sketches like this. You know, and what makes a normal, like just a static composition. This would be considered a static composition. This would be more dynamic. Okay. When you start to run things off the page, or you start to do things that are asymmetrical, you know, we talked about the other day, we talked about flush left. So your text, when it runs this way, that's flush left. Okay. And flush right gets a little bit more interesting. We're used to reading things flush left. Flush right gets a little bit more interesting because unless you speak Hebrew or read Hebrew or Arabic, we don't normally read from right to left. So we don't line our things up along the right margin. Sorry, that's flush right. Justified is when you do this, right? That's very static, very almost like, you know, looking at an illuminated manuscript on the page or like a text from the Gutenberg Bible. Everything is justified. You have flush left and flush right. Then you start getting into, oh, and then there's centered, you know, this is centered. Now, when you start getting into something a little bit more dynamic, you get an asymmetrical type of thing, staggered text, where you do something like this. So even when we're thinking of our bodies of text to put in, this is starting to get more dynamic. These are more this is static. This is very static, very predictable. This is more dynamic. All right. So when you're thinking about where you want to put your text, you'll see what I did here is I staggered my lines. Look at how they do this. There's no flush left. There's no flush right. They're just kind of moving back and forth. That's a more static way of handling your text. So you might want to think about that when you do your bodies of text tomorrow. How you want to position them within the context of the composition, okay? And also where we put our elements on the page. Do you want to tumble down the page like this? You know, is all of your stuff going to be happening somewhere in here? And then maybe your text is in here or down here, okay? So those are some of the things we'll talk about tomorrow too. All right.
Awesome.
Any other questions?
We are caught up in the chat and it's exactly time. Julie, Maggie just put quickly in the chat the size of the paper you're working on.
Of my practice paper,
Yes.
it's 12 by 18, 12 inches by 18 inches. It is the Pack-On Sulfite drawing paper.
That's
That
on
is
page 2.
in your handout on
Right,
page
page 2. Okay, well, Julie, that's it. So if you want to switch back to your face, please.
All righty.
And you can stop the recording and everyone is welcome to unmute themselves.